Imagine you are a prehistoric human wandering through a Pleistocene forest 20,000 years ago. You are hungry and you spot a small shell-covered seed lying in the dirt. You crack it open, eat it, and suddenly your throat starts to tighten. Your face swells up like a balloon. You gasp for air, but your lungs refuse to cooperate. In a world before hospitals, ambulances, or EpiPens, this isn't just an inconvenience, it's an immediate death sentence. And to make matters worse, a nearby saber-toothed cat is watching you struggle, thinking you look like a highly convenient pre-packaged snack. If ancient humans suffered from food allergies the way we do today, how on earth did our ancestors survive? The short answer is they didn't suffer from them. In fact, if you could travel back in time and try to explain a peanut allergy to a caveman, they would look at you like you were speaking alien. To them, the idea that a tiny seed could turn your own body into a lethal weapon would sound like dark magic. Today, food allergies are a full-blown modern epidemic. Peanut allergies alone have tripled in Western countries over the past few decades, turning school lunchrooms into high-stakes minefields. But in the ancient world, allergies were virtually non-existent. How did our ancestors eat whatever they dug out of the dirt without their immune systems exploding, while a modern human can be brought down by a single legume? The answer is a wild story of evolutionary warfare, bored antibodies, and why we might have made a huge mistake by cleaning up our world. To understand why ancient humans didn't get allergies, we first need to understand the absolute chaos that happens inside a modern allergic body. An allergy is not a sign of a weak immune system. In fact, it's the exact opposite. It's a sign of an immune system that is too strong, too enthusiastic, and completely paranoid. When a person with a peanut allergy eats a peanut, their body doesn't see a delicious source of protein and healthy fats. It sees an invading alien monster. Specifically, the body reacts to certain proteins in the peanut, flagging them as dangerous enemies. To fight this imaginary threat, the immune system deploys its heavy artillery, a specialized class of proteins called immunoglobulin E or IgE antibodies. Think of IgE as the commander of the body's SWAT team. Once these IgE antibodies spot the peanut protein, they immediately rush to immune cells called mast cells and scream, "Launch the missiles." The mast cells comply, releasing a massive chemical flood, primarily consisting of histamine. In a normal situation, histamine is great. It makes your blood vessels leak so that immune cells can rush to the site of an infection. But when histamine is released all over your body in response to a peanut, it triggers absolute chaos. Your blood pressure drops, your tissues swell, and your airways constrict. It's the biological equivalent of your home security system burning down your entire house just because a leaf blew past the window sensor. It is an over-the-top, self-destructive panic. This raises an obvious evolutionary question: why do we even have this self-destruct button? Natural selection is brutal. If the IgE pathway only served to make us choke on peanuts, evolution would have weeded it out millions of years ago. The fact that we still have IgE antibodies means they must have had a massive survival benefit. And they did. But to see it, we have to look at what human life was like for 99% of our history. For hundreds of thousands of years, our ancestors lived in the wild. They didn't have water treatment plants, vacuum cleaners, or hand sanitizer. They drank from muddy rivers, slept on the ground, and ate meat that was crawling with bacteria. Because of this, ancient humans were never alone. They were walking ecosystems, constantly infested with parasites. We are talking about hookworms latching onto their intestines, tapeworms stealing their food, and roundworms migrating through their lungs. This is where the IgE SWAT team comes in. The IgE antibody pathway didn't evolve to fight peanuts. It evolved to fight these massive, wriggling invaders. A microscopic white blood cell cannot eat a giant tapeworm. It's like a human trying to swallow a school bus. So the immune system used IgE to trigger a violent physical evacuation. By releasing histamines, the body flooded the gut, contracted the muscles, and forced the parasites out through itching, vomiting, and diarrhea. In the ancient world, having a hyperactive IgE response wasn't a defect. It was the only thing keeping you from being eaten alive from the inside out. So, what changed? In a word, cleanliness. Over the last 2 centuries, humans did something incredible. We invented indoor plumbing, clean drinking water, modern sanitation, and antibiotics. We successfully kicked out the parasites. If you live in a modern city today, the chances of you having a giant hookworm living in your gut are close to zero. But this victory created a massive unforeseen problem. We fired the parasites, but we forgot to fire the SWAT team. Our evolutionary biology hasn't changed. We still produce IgE antibodies, and they are still programmed to look for threats. But now, they have absolutely nothing to do. They are sitting in the barracks, fully armed, highly trained, and incredibly bored. This brings us to the hygiene hypothesis, or more accurately, the old friends theory. The theory suggests that our immune system co-evolved with these dirty microbes and parasites over millions of years. The immune system actually expects them to be there. In fact, it needs them. The parasites produce chemicals that calm our immune system down, creating a state of peaceful negotiation. Without these old friends to fight, the immune system becomes unstable. It starts profiling harmless things. The bored IgE antibodies look at a harmless piece of peanut protein, which structurally looks a tiny bit like a parasite protein, and they say, "Aha! Finally! An enemy! Launch the nukes!" In our quest to sanitize our world, we traded chronic worm infections for chronic food allergies. We made our environments so clean that our own bodies started fighting themselves. Ancient humans never had this issue because their immune systems were constantly educated. Prehistoric babies didn't live in sanitized nurseries. They crawled through dirt, put mud-covered rocks in their mouths, and shared food that had been handled by 10 other dirty people. This constant early life exposure to microbes and food antigens taught their immune systems what was actually dangerous and what was harmless. In fact, modern science has proven this is exactly how the body builds tolerance. For years, well-meaning doctors told parents to avoid giving peanuts to babies, thinking it would prevent allergies. But in 2015, a landmark study called the LEAP trial turned this advice on its head. Researchers took hundreds of infants and split them into two groups. One group avoided peanuts, while the other group was fed peanut products regularly starting in infancy. The results were shocking. The babies who ate peanuts early had an 80% lower rate of developing a peanut allergy. Avoiding the food had actually caused the allergy. Ancient humans were accidentally practicing the LEAP study every single day. Furthermore, there is the harsh reality of natural selection. In the Stone Age, if an infant did happen to have a genetic mutation that caused a severe anaphylactic reaction to a local nut or seed, they wouldn't have survived long enough to pass those genes on. Without EpiPens, the genes for severe food allergies were quickly and ruthlessly weeded out of the gene pool. So, were ancient humans allergic to peanuts? Biologically, they had the potential to be. They had the same IgE antibodies and the same mast cells that we do. But practically, they weren't. Their immune systems were too busy fighting actual monsters to worry about harmless plants. Their lifestyles were filled with the very dirt, microbes, and early exposures that kept their bodies in balance. The lesson here is not that we should stop washing our hands or start importing tapeworms for our kids. Modern sanitation has saved billions of lives, and we are much better off without the parasites. But it does mean we need to reevaluate our relationship with cleanliness. Our bodies are not built for sterile bubbles. They are built for a messy, microbial world. So the next time you see a kid dropping their food on the floor and eating it, or crawling through a muddy yard, don't panic. They aren't just playing. They are training their immune system SWAT team, ensuring it stays focused on the real enemies, rather than starting a war with a peanut. What about you? Do you think you would have survived the prehistoric world with your immune system, or would a wild berry have taken you out? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the weird history of our bodies.